Okay, another day, another FPL pod. Jack, how are you today?
Josh, really good. Really excited about this little episode we're doing. So, yeah, we're going through FPL content and content providers, and we're going to rank them, aren't we? We're going to tier list them to jump on a popular trend, YouTube trend. So,
You do love a tier list as well.
I love a tier list. I love a trend. I'm a trend hopper. Definitely not a trend setter. Trend hopper. Bandwagon jumper.
We'll take it. We'll take
Yeah,
it.
we'll take it. So what are we doing here, Josh? Explain the process.
Well, as you said, tier list, for people who are not familiar, we're basically going to take a short list or a long list potentially of our favorite resources, different types of resources that you may go to that are all FPL related. And we're going to rank them, Jack. We're going to rank them, S being, super special, whatever different people call it. People call it different things, don't they? And then A, and we've gone down to D and then had a void afterwards. So you'll see, in the table that we've got up in the background here, we'll obviously, as we discuss each one, put it up. But basically, you're looking out for those S's. They're the big important ones that should hopefully help you as a manager.
Yeah, very well put. Yeah. And what I would say about this list, so we've got 22, I guess, content providers or content platforms. So we actually, our very first video we did, Josh, all those many moons ago, was we kind of covered the best FPL resources, what we thought. And in that video, we were quite generic with some. So we were like, Twitter is a resource or websites are a resource. With this, we're going specific. So we're talking specific websites, specific YouTube accounts, specific Twitter accounts, things like that. So we're going to be very, very specific with each one. And we've each ranked them without seeing the other one's ranking. So it'll be quite exciting if we disagree. Then we can have a little debate about it. Or if we do agree, we'll just pat each other on the back and say why we agree. And in the case of like a big discrepancy, I think we have a little chat about it, but because you're kind of the scrum master on this, I think you have the final decision of where it goes, Josh. Because just for the sake of moving it along, we don't just waste time. So you can be you can be the ref.
Okay, I promise to be as unbiased as possible as one of the persons actually discussing and arguing. Great.
I think you'll be slightly better than me. You'll be terrible, but better than me at being non-biased.
I'll take it.
You're as good
I'll
as we
take
got.
it. Cheers.
You're the best we got. So we've got 22 content creators, content providers that we're going to rank. And hopefully it'll be a bit of fun, but also be helpful if you're looking for channels to follow, whatever. Our opinion will be maybe useful to you, or you might completely disagree. Let us know. And if you are one of these providers that happen to be watching this, apologies in advance. It's not meant to be a dig at you if you're watching, but
yeah, don't come after us or anything.
Please don't. We're fragile. We are fragile. Yeah. But anyway, should we crack on, Josh?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. You introduce our first one. Who we got up first?
It's a biggie. So it is the subreddit r fantasy PL. So the main subreddit for FPL, and it is fantasy PL. Jack, what have you given it?
Yeah. Well, straight away, Josh. To me, this is the Bible of fantasy resources. I've given it an S. Go straight in with an S. Positive. I love it. I'm on it every day. Whether it's price changes, injury news, crazy tactics, stupid opinions, memes, everything is there. And I think when I discovered the subreddit, my rank, just you can see in my rank history when I discovered the subreddit and how it improved just because of what a good resource it is. So I've gone S tier. What about you?
I mean, yeah, as well, I'm on it daily also, and therefore I've also ranked it S tier. Exactly what you said. I also like the fact that Reddit does the work for you. And, if you filter by hottest or hot, then you're basically being given all the current information you need right now. So if you're going to it right before the deadline, all the, the hits or the posts that are top on that first page of hot are just all going to be related to injury news, the conferences, like all the news you need to know right before you pick your team. So it sorts it for you, it filters for you.
It does. It does. Great. Go get on Reddit. If there's one thing you'd use on this list and disregard all the rest, I'd say just go on the subreddit and you'll have a good season.
Yeah.
That's what I'd say. So there you go. Well done, Reddit. S tier. Who's up next, Josh?
It's Andy from Let's Talk FPL.
Big dog.
Big dog. Yeah, he's been around for a while. Jack, you know him. You've been a fan of him longer than I have. You actually pointed me in his direction. So what are you going to give him?
Yeah, Andy, great. I've given him an S. So 2 S's for me so far. So Andy to me is like, he's like the kind of godfather of YouTube FPL. So he was part of the Fantasy Football Scout crew, like way back in the day. Just started churning out YouTube videos when there was no like monetization on YouTube. YouTube wasn't that big. There's like grainy old videos of him just like talking to nobody about his team off a script. And now he's a full-time FPL YouTuber. And I think he's got the second highest following of kind of FPL dedicated YouTubers. And he's just a great guy. He's a very likable, laid back, kind of cool guy who just likes FPL, and he's he's good. He's good. So I've gone S. What have you gone, Josh, for Andy?
Well, yeah, I've given him a B,
Ooh.
which could be considered by some people quite harsh. As you said, probably second. Big name as a content creator, FPL content creator. The reason I've given him a B is I think look, as you said, likable, he's great. He's got a real skill at covering all the key topics in like a week in a lot of his videos. Even though it's kind of focused on his team, he still manages to cover the topics that you are interested in, even though it's not your team.
So you're praising.
These are great things, and then pick them up, Jack, and then you're shoving the negatives. But I think, especially recently, maybe because he's of victim of his own success, he creates so many videos now that what used to be maybe a single video or two that you could look at in a week and be like, that's everything I need to know. Now it's just there's so many, and he goes live for the deadline, which is great. I know people love it. You can go in and ask him questions and stuff, but it's just a bit of mini information overload on his channel. Like it's niche. Some people might like that. Great content, as I said before, but I just want to dip in to the channel, get what I need to, and then jump out. It's not podcast format, is it? It's shorter video format. So I want that info. I want it now, Jack. And that's the negative. Maybe I've been a bit harsh with the B, but I wanted to be harsh on this one. I wanted the S's to deserve it.
Yeah, whereas I'm just dishing them out. Yeah, I know what you mean about there being an overflow of content. I don't watch all his videos now either. I used to watch them all. And yeah, it kind of goes to what we decided with this channel, wasn't it? We don't want to do the weekly, who are your top transfers, who are the best captains, who's this, what's my team doing, what's Stella doing? Like daily videos. I think you don't need daily FPL 20-minute videos, do you, for FPL? So I do agree. And that must have just come with him. It's his job now. He has to churn it out daily to maintain the following and the viewers, I guess. So yeah, so I do agree. Like it's diluted his value a bit with all those. With those, that amount. So I do agree. But I do think he is the best YouTuber, I think, out there at FPL. Hence the S tier. But it's your call, man. Where's it going? Where's he going?
I think it would be fair to put it in the middle in this case. So an A, naturally trying to be objective here. I give him a B, you give him an S.
A for Andy.
Down the middle. A for Andy.
Yeah, it's a sign.
Good.
Well done, Andy.
But let's talk FPL. What's up next, Jack?
All right. So the other side of the coin, if you like, the YouTube coin. So I think the third biggest following on YouTube is this guy with FPL. It's FPL Mate. So yeah, very different to Andy in terms of style. He's younger. I think he appeals to a younger audience. And again, he's very active. It's his job. So he's the other kind of full-time FPL YouTuber. What have you given him, Josh?
I've given him a D. So I've been quite harsh, not quite an avoid, because I do think, there's a reason why he's got a big following. because he's got something to say. He says it, but I do think he's can be a bit scatty with the advice that he gives out. It's very, from what I've seen, very opinion kind of eye test led. I mean, say if you've experienced otherwise for him, but that's kind of what I get, and the impression of, like, I want someone to gather all the information that I don't have the time to look at and be like, here, use this as you choose. Whereas I feel like he's like, this is what I think, Captain San Maximan for this week. And if it's wild, it's just like often, sometimes not with any basis, but that's how I feel. But would you differ, Jack? What have you given him?
No, I would. I've given him a D as well,
Ooh.
and I think it's just because he's just not my cup of tea in terms of his style. It should be said he had a great season last year. I think he finished in like the top 10K. So he's a good FPL player. But I think he's been embroiled in like quite a lot of controversy on Twitter. Like he's quite emotional with the, and when you've got a massive following, you're just going to get trolls. Like, not defending the people having a go at him, because they are just like being knobheads, but he just rises to that bait and can often kind of paint himself in a bad light. And yeah, as I say, he's appealing to the younger audience, which is totally fine. But yeah, not for me. So a D.
But what, like, the content is good, isn't it? Like, well produced, slick
Yeah,
videos again.
yeah.
And there are people that are going to love that. So but
Yeah, check him out. So don't avoid him. Check him out. If you like him, great. Subscribe to him. Go for it.
good FPL mate. There you go. D. Well, he's getting a D because we've both gone D.
Check him
That's
with a
nice and easy
D.
one.
Yeah.
Then next up, FPL General. So less of a YouTuber, more of podcast. He is on YouTube, but obviously, it's a more audio-based podcast. Again, someone that you sent my way, Jack. I didn't know about him before you told me about him a little while back. What are you thinking? What are you scoring him? What are you ranking?
The general, I've gone C for the general. That, yeah, maybe that's a bit harsh, but I think he podcast for the Athletic now. Like, he started out with a brilliant, I think it was the 59th minute podcast, and he was great. It was just him talking on a podcast. Really likable Scottish guy, and a veteran, really good manager. Like, kind of made his name because of his pedigree in the game, which is what you want to see. But since going to the Athletic podcast, it's kind of ruined his podcast. I think it's kind of makes it comes out on a Sunday night, I think, or maybe a Monday morning, which is like too early and it's previewing the next game week, and you're like, well, this game week hasn't even ended yet, mate. And so, yeah, so since moving to the Athletic, and I love the Athletic, but it's just not a good match made in heaven at all for me. So yeah, I've gone C for the general. I don't really pay attention to him anymore.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. All valid points you've given. I've given him a B. I think I didn't want to score him down too low because I think a lot of people are looking for YouTube now, don't, like, the visuals, aren't they? Like, the content that FPL Mate and Let's Talk FPL produce, it's great. Like, the kind of visual and speaking, you can pick it up, you can really get the message you're putting across. But given that he's only got a podcast as a medium, like, he still gives amazing advice. He's got such like an analytical approach. Just listening to his thought patterns about moves he's going to make in the next 2 to 3 game weeks and stuff. You can pick up a lot, I think, from it.
Do you listen to him still?
In and out, mainly when I'm working in the background. But no, I think I mean, that's what podcasts are for, isn't it? It's a certain kind of format. But yeah, I still think the topics that he covers and a lot of his decision making is on point. Like, he's like Andy of Let's Talk FPL.
Yeah,
they're both so good.
Cool. Yeah, you've convinced me. I haven't really listened to him for over a year now, and he's on Twitter and he's all right there as well. So yeah, where are you putting him, Josh?
Well, I think your points are valid. I think maybe I've scored him a bit higher, so I'll go with you on this one, Jack. And I'll give him a C.
I thought you were going to go B there. I thought you were more convincing there than me. But
Just,
fair enough.
Keeping some chips.
I'll take it. Sorry, General.
Great. So FPL General, he's out of the way. Onto another podcast. It's the guys that Always Cheating. So yeah, Jack, what are you scoring these guys? We love them. We love them. They're funny guys.
Yeah, I love these guys. I do love these guys. I think they're the best podcast out there. Again, release every Monday, but they are in America, so they kind of have to record it at that time, I think. And they're just so professionally entertaining, these two. Like, such easy listening, very personable on the mic. Great kind of bond between them both. I think they're only not an S because they're probably not the most flat out useful for your team podcast. They are very useful, and their kind of insights are great, but they don't like deep dive into stats or anything really. They do use them, but it's not completely comprehensive in that way. But they're just great. And I guess another thing of this, they are quite advert heavy. I would say they're quite, like, you can tell these guys are, bringing the American commercialism to it. So again, that knocks a couple of points off. But on the whole, it's the only pod I listen to weekly, like, without fail, I think. So that's what I think of them. What do you think of them?
Fair. Yeah, I agree with all the points you said. I given them an A as well. And like, I would want to give them an S for the same reason that you said, but they're just, I think they don't reach that level of the tier in terms of usefulness for your of your FPL kind of as a manager, what you want out of this. I would say they're probably the best out of any on the list in entertainment. As you said. So if you want a bit of enjoyment, sometimes they do a great job of like putting it all in context. When you've had a terrible week, you just want to make light of it a little bit. They're just funny guys. And as you said, they're good as well. But yeah, A is good, and would recommend them to anyone for a bit of fun FPL.
Sure. Yeah, for sure. So we're agreement on them. Ben Crellin up next, Josh. Who's Ben Crellin, and what did you rate him?
The Twitter maestro, Ben Crellin. So I mean, I am right in saying really you only get his content through Twitter, right? I only know of his basically.
So he is employed by the Fantasy Football Hub, and you can get more stuff from him on that. But yeah, mainly Twitter.
Yeah, and obviously he kind of offers his spreadsheets, doesn't he, that you can buy. But essentially, through his Twitter account, he gives pretty in-depth, probably the most in-depth breakdown of the game weeks and how they change throughout the season with double blanks and scheduling in general.
Yeah.
He's the master, god tier master of that.
Yeah, there's nothing like it out there apart from him. He's quite a unique guy in that he can like predict when the double game weeks will be, like 3 seasons before the season starts almost. Like, he's incredible. He can he just makes it so easy to understand what a cup draw does later on down the line. And in that kind of carnage week of like game week 29 to 38, where there's doubles and blanks and everything, he just lays out a free spreadsheet for everyone to use, showing clearly which teams have doubles and blanks and when, just making it really easy to map out your team. So again, if you're going to follow one FPL account, it should be Ben Crellin, I think. So yeah, I've given him an S. Yeah,
I've given him the S as well. As you said, like at this point in the season, you probably wouldn't find him that useful, but for the port in the storm, that is all those heavy game weeks with all the blanks and everything, he's essential.
Yeah, put him in S. Get him in there.
S. Done. Next, we've got Big Man Bakar.
Yeah.
I can't comment on this, Jack. So
right.
This is down to you because I don't know Big Man Bakar. So hit me up.
Yeah. So Big Man Bakar, he's mainly on Twitter. And a couple of years ago, he started doing a kind of summary on Twitter that got quite a lot of traction because it was really good. It was really concise, and he'd answer it was like a big Twitter thread, and he'd answer like 6 or 7 like key questions for the game week and back them up with quite good stats of like, oh, should I captain? And they're quite specific, like, oh, should I captain Kane or Salah this week, or should I get rid of Robertson or whatever? And he tells you why. And it was brilliant. It was so good. But lately, I've given him a C because lately he started working for the Fantasy Football Hub, which is a bad move anyway. And he's starting to like hide things behind paywalls and Instagram. He's like, oh, check out my team on Instagram. And everyone's like, just put it on Twitter, mate. Come on. And the threads themselves have kind of degraded in quality. They're too long now. So it's like you're reading a big article, whereas before that bite-sized nature of the tweets were really good. And he's kind of moved away from that. And the first 5 of them are like promotions for stuff. So he's just sold out basically, which is a real shame.
Big man.
Like fair enough, make money, but there's a limit to it, and he's over the limit. So I've given him a C.
C. And from your description, actually, I do know who he is now. I know which guy he is.
There you go.
And yeah, agree. C.
Cool. Cool.
Oh, that's disappointing.
It is. He can put it back.
Come on, big man, sort it out.
Yeah.
Anyway, from the big man to, you've mentioned them, the Fantasy Football Hub. What are we giving these, Jack?
Well, Josh, I've given them an avoid, I'm afraid.
Ooh,
I know it's really controversial. So I guess quickly who they are. They're probably the biggest, one of the 2 really big independent fantasy sites that have loads of stats and stuff, loads of resources on there. That on the face of it are good. They are really good. They do. The reason it's an avoid for me is they charge for it, for one, but also a season or 2 ago, they had a massive data leak, like a data breach of all their users and user passwords, which they lied about a couple of times. So they said initially, oh, it's not everybody. It's a minor thing. But the guy who breached them was just active on Reddit and Twitter. And he was like, no, I got everything. Here they are. And he just kept leaking them. And then they were like, oh, okay, well, they got the hash passwords. They didn't get the full passwords. And the guy was like, no, we got the plain text passwords. Here you go. And so like lie after lie after lie came out. And there was like a video of, I used to love them. I used to think they were the best. They had a great podcast. The guys seemed great on YouTube that run it. And it just all went up in flames, really. And now they've just they won't reference it ever. If anyone mentions it, they block them.
Jeez.
If, it's just completely brushed over. And they'd raised loads of money for this. I hadn't realized. So they'd raised like loads of investor money to launch this thing. And part of the investment promise was like robust security for users, which they just hadn't spent any money on. So it was just a massive kind of real shame. And now anyone like Bakar, or they've also hired some like quite controversial characters on Twitter that have made some quite kind of like archaic views known that they've then hired. So I won't mention any names on that. But yeah, just like really bad moves from them in the last kind of year or so is mainly just completely switch off from anything they do. So that's my reason for an avoid, which is a shame. And if you didn't know any of that and just took it for what it was, it would be great. Because what have you given them?
I mean, I've done that. You're the moral compass of this podcast, Jack, because I've gone in and given them an S. No, I've given them an A.
I mean, an A for what it is. They deserve an A. You're right. It's just
the website as it is. And I know what you mean. You can get certain things on there, resources, tools, articles, etc., for free.
Yeah.
And then they cut you off partway through. So I would say they organize it really well, but then this is the reason why, isn't it? Because they've had those members join and pay the money, etc. They're able to do that. But yeah, I mean, I can see why you'd give them an avoid, and we as a moral pair I have to give them a void now. I think it's only fair that we do that. We stand strong. I back your opinion, Jack.
It is such a shame. It is a shame. But there you go.
But yeah, let's get away from Hub. That's a downer.
Move on. It's a downer.
Yeah. Oh, damn it, Hub. On to one of their big rivals, Fantasy Football Scout, Jack. So it could be a bit lighter now with Scout. So yeah. What did you score the guys at Scout?
Yeah, the Scout scored him a B. Maybe a bit harsh in hindsight, but I think these guys were the OGs. Obviously, they were the first guys to do it. Like back when it was just a podcast, the Scoutcast, and it was just these great, like proper nerdy Anunnaki guys that were like really into it in like 2007. Great, just raw, really good. And the website's good. And it's just now they've sort of, they're struggling to like modernize, I think, a bit. So they're trying to be more like the hub, which is good in that sense, in the presentation way, but they're just not, it's just something not quite, they've lost something in doing it, I think. Like they've lost their kind of, not their soul, that's a bit dramatic, but it's just not as kind of pure as it was, I think. And now they just kind of fall in with the rest of the YouTubers and everything. There's nothing like unique about them, I don't think, particularly now. They're fine. They're a nice bunch of guys, definitely, and perfectly listenable too, but I think there's just better out there now.
Yeah, it's completely fair. I mean, really, when we're talking about them, I only use the website really. The
Right.
rest, I kind of see their other social media accounts kind of pop up with, like Twitter and stuff and podcasts, etc. But I don't go to them specifically. It's only the website that I go because they've got a kind of good visual breakdown of the next game weeks with the fixture difficulty, which is right next to, the ratio of like price rises and falls and transfers in and out, like the same thing as the hub really. It just, your one-stop shop essentially for a lot of the information plus the articles. I
I never
guess
actually go on the site, so maybe you're educating me there. So I think
it's
I've
it's
maybe I've been a bit harsh on there. I never see it.
it's nothing unique. It's probably a lot of the things you'd get in posts on in the subreddit for FPL, and it just kind of gathers it all into one place, so you can kind of click around and grab it from there. But um like, you do have to hunt around. The difference is when you listen to like a YouTuber or something, isn't it? They, or the posts on Reddit, they give you the information. You don't have to hunt it out. You just kind of
Yeah.
scroll or listen. They give it to you. On the Scout website, you'll have to know what you're looking for and go for it
Right.
specifically. So you got to do the work, I guess.
I like that though.
Um,
Again, that goes back to the rawness of it. I like a bit of like old school websiteness is what we need a bit more, I think. But
just clicking around, going through the pages.
yeah. Anyway, what are we giving him, Josh?
Well, I went with you last time, so let's go with me this time. I'll give him an A.
Makes sense. Fair. Perfectly fair.
Love it.
A for Sky. Yeah, that's definitely no issues with that.
Perfect. And moving swiftly on, we've got FPL Family. Jack,
Yeah,
you're gonna have to take this one again because
I'll
I
take
don't
it.
know these guys.
So these guys are a couple that started like YouTube and social media in a while ago now, and they're kind of in with the gang of the Scout, and like they're on TV and stuff, and they're on things. I don't particularly find them that good, entertainment wise or comedy wise. They're fine, they're nice guys, but they're nothing. They're nothing special at all. So I've put D. Like, check them out again if they're mainly for entertainment, and they're not my type of entertainment. So they're not an avoid. Like, check them out, and if they are your type of entertainment, definitely fill your boots. But for me, they're not. Hence the D. But no beef with them.
Cool, good summary. Yeah, go
Yeah.
check them out and make my decision. But yeah, I'll have to agree with you. I'll give them a D.
Cool.
And if you are an FPL content addict, then yeah, maybe one for you.
Yeah, sure.
So moving on to something a bit different now. FPL Game Week.
Oh,
We I know we love FPL Game Week.
yeah.
I ask? I don't even really need to ask Jack, but what have you ranked FPL Game Week?
D. No, it's an S. It's an S for them. I mean, it's the best website on the internet. It's all. I mean, we said Reddit is the one, but actually, the real one might be this one, because this puts. I never go to the fantasy website now. I do it to just change my team, and that is it. Because this site shows you way more, like obscene amounts. It's embarrassing for the fantasy site, the official site, how much this site shows compared to that. I could go on and on about it, but it's so good in it.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, it is just better than the app, far better than the app, and better than the site, the official FPL site. But for the people that don't know about it, Jack, what is it? Why is it so good? You're best to
Well,
explain this, 'cause
yeah, we've been a bit
you're
vague, I
happy
guess.
minded.
So as soon as the game week starts, it shows you a full breakdown of your league and what's happening in it, any of your mini leagues. So you click on your own mini league, and it shows you kind of a live like F1 qualifying grid style table that updates in real time of who's got the most points, whatever. You can filter it by the game week points or the overall score. But the genius is it takes into account substitute points and bonus points as they happen live. And it's clever enough to know if your player didn't play, who will come on. It shows you who the most dangerous players are that you own or you don't own compared to your league. So if you don't have Haaland like me, it tells me exactly how damaging every goal he scores is going to be. There's a live feed of all the scores with the goals and assists. It shows you how damaging an assist by Ward-Prowse is compared to your team. It's just the stats are crazy. It's really easy to look at. It's just, and there's way more than that even on there. It's crazy. It's madness. Just go to it. FPLGameweek.com. Can't recommend it enough.
Check it out, and it's free. We should say as well. After
all free, yeah,
hub and everything.
Yeah,
go to them.
Fantastic.
Nice. That's a good one. Good one. Everyone loves S tier. Next, FPL statistics.
Yeah,
that's what it says on the tin.
It does. So FPL statistics it's mainly a price change website, isn't it? Have I got this right or wrong?
They do have, from when I've looked at them, and I don't use them a lot. I checked it out. I checked them out a couple of times. They do have some kind of XG kind of basic data stats, the kind of understat style-y, but nothing too complex.
Most people use it for the price change prediction, don't they? So again, it's quite unique. I think there's one other site that does this, but it basically tells you who is likely to rise in price or fall in price for each day. And it gets, because they changed the algorithm, Fantasy Football Official, keep the algorithm secret and tweak it every year. So the guy who runs this site has to kind of figure it out each year and gets better as the season goes on. So at the start of the season, the price predictions are less good, but as you go on, they get better. And it becomes really valuable. You know, if you're waiting on a transfer, you're not sure whether to make a transfer and you can only just afford it. This gives you an indication, okay, can I wait a day or will they go up in price? And it's quite good at highlighting players that you may have missed if they're going up in price. Oh, I haven't seen Trossard. He's going up. Yeah, I'll pick him. So yeah, it's quite a basic site put together, but it does the job. I like it. Does the trick. So yeah, I've gone B, I think.
Great. I've gone B as well for basically all the reasons that you said. And in the age of, where people do hunt team value as an indication of how well they're doing, it's important, isn't it, to beat a price rise or ship someone out before a price drop.
Yeah.
Lovely. B, in agreement. Next, we've got a new PLA. I used to call it a Noopla when you.
I still call it a Noopla.
Is it a Noopla? I'm pretty sure I said that last time. You were like, a Noopla.
Yeah, no. In my head, I call it a Noopla for sure.
But yeah, Jack, what have you scored? A new PLA, a Noopla?
A Noopla, I've scored it a C, Josh. And seeing as I ranted on about what FPL game it was, you tell us what a Noopla does.
It's just, unfortunately, I don't want to be too harsh, it's just a less good version of FPL Game Week. So, I mean, you pointed me in the direction of this site, and we used it, and we were like, "This is amazing! The official site should be like this." And then you discovered FPL Game Week and pointed our group of friends towards that, and now everyone uses that, and it's just, I've given it a D, and the only reason I've given it a D is because it lies in the shadow of FPL Game Week. By itself, you're probably right, it should be a C, but when you put it next to side by side FPL Game Week, it's just not as good.
Yeah, sadly, FPL Game Week did come along later and take the crown. There's one thing it does that FPL Game Week doesn't do, and it gives you a nicely summarized breakdown of the most captain players in your mini league. So that's the only reason I visit it now before I flick to FPL Game Week, is like, just gives you like, okay, 20 people have captain Salah, 6 people have captain in this league. Oh, the top 10 in this league have captained these guys. So that's its one remaining edge over FPL Game Week. And it also has an area called FPL Statistico that is a less good version of live FPL in terms of like how your team season's going. So yeah, it has been usurped by these other two sites, sadly, in terms of utility. And And yeah, it isn't really, if you know about those two, it's not that useful, but it's still quite, it does the job that it's always done. So yeah. So yeah, I thought C because it was a pioneer, Josh, pay it its due. A bit like
Yeah.
the Scout were,
And for nostalgia, I'll give you that C.
Give me the
I'll
C.
give you the C.
Go on.
They deserve it. They
I
deserve
still
it.
love you.
Next, we've got understat. We both love a bit of understat.
I'm surprised at your score here, Josh.
I know, Jack. I know.
Tell me about
What
it.
have you scored understat?
I've scored it an A because it gives you the XG and XA data that we want and need. Maybe that is a bit high. Like it's not the most easily, the UI is not amazing if you want to like filter down for stuff, but we use it all the time. So I just thought, it's like bread. You don't judge bread as your favorite food, but should probably give it an A because we eat
Without
bread a
bread,
lot.
can't have a
Yeah.
bacon sandwich. I
Yeah.
mean, you wouldn't have a bacon sandwich anyway, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, sure. Exactly. So it's like a staple of our tools, even though it's not that good. What have you given it?
I've given it a C, and this I put a lot of thought into this one actually,
Yeah, explain.
because as you said, it's got a lot of value to it, I think. But I think unfortunately, for the average manager, it's a lot of kind of DIY analysis. That's kind of how I was thinking about it and rationalize my C grade here, because a lot of the the resources we listed above, and even like the subreddit fantasy FPL for fantasy PL, for example, they'll take the data and they'll kind of explain it for you. Like this is just the raw data, and I think it won't answer. It can't answer the questions that you may have. Like you kind of have to answer them yourself, if you know what I mean. Like you've got to kind of do the work. So yeah, as you said, we enjoy it. We use it quite a lot because we like ranking the different players in a game week or whatever. But I think for the average person, he's just like, oh, give me the 5 to 5.5 mil top XA, blah blah blah, for the next 3 game weeks. Like I think it's a lot of work when it comes to that.
Yeah, agree, man. Agree. Yeah, and it's just, and also a gripe I have with it is that it lets you filter on defenders, but it counts some random players as defenders. Like it doesn't, the categorization's poor of players. So yeah, it's a lot to be desired, actually. Yeah, I'm happy with your rating on this.
Happy with mine. Okay, I did think it was a bit harsh. I was going to go middle on this one, but
whatever you want.
Let's go B. I feel like that's fair.
All right. Fair. All right. Cool.
Lovely. Next up, FPL Guru.
FPL.Guru.
This is over to you, Jack, because the Guru I am not familiar with.
You don't know about the Guru. So the Guru it's an old school throwback. It was one of the first websites to use the fantasy API, and to just it gave some nice graphs of like you against the average, you against your other mini league players, like quite nice visual data, nothing too crazy. But they've since expanded, and annoyingly, it does ask you to log in now, which is a big no-no, big no-no. But it does have some other cool bells and whistles, like recommended transfers and things for your team. And it's all right. Not a lot to say. FPL.Guru, go and check it out if you want. I've given it a D because I don't really use it anymore, and it's not that useful, but it's it's there.
They're on the list.
Yeah,
they're worthy of being on the list.
Yeah, maybe I needed to pad out the list. Yeah,
good. Pad. We need some padding.
Yeah, we need padding.
Lovely. FPL Guru, D for padding. Next, the official fantasy site. Interesting.
Never heard of it.
What have you scored these guys?
I've gone with a C. What have you scored them?
I went D. I just went brutal.
You hate the site.
Why have you given them a C?
I've given them a C because it's still the only website where you can change your team and make transfers. So we have to use it. If this was the app, I'd go avoid. I should have put the app on there because you should not use the app. But the site, I mean, it is baffling that FPL Game Week and Co. can just show so much better data than the site, especially with updating scores and bonus points and stuff. Like, it's quicker than this. It just doesn't make, like, back in the day, do you remember you had to literally just wait and pray and hope for the bonus points and the subs and your mini leagues to update? Like, you literally didn't know how you were getting on until the next day. It was crazy. And you still kind of don't if you just use the site. So yeah, I've put it there. I quite like the new look this season. So they're trying stuff with it, with definitely with the vibes, but it's just, yeah, we still have to use it, hence the C, because we're changing teams. But I understand the D.
Their D was just rebelling against rebelling against the man. And yeah, I mean, noted. I guess the D was being a bit harsh. I was thinking from the perspective of everything that they do on the site is done better by someone else. Like, I want them to do something like the best because it is their game.
Yeah,
But
the articles aren't good either, are they, really?
No, they're terrible. I would say I probably only look at the articles or their little snippet videos or whatever less than 10 times a year.
Yeah, same.
Which is mad considering how much we love this game. And
yeah, it is weird.
Shout out to Pastor Severa. I love this game. Okay, but it is noted. I mean, the other thing I would say is you didn't put, it's not the app, but Twitter as well is really useful to know when someone's got an assist or not. I do go to that in during a game.
Oh, that you mean
their Twitter account? Yeah.
Yeah, I guess you count that in this. Yeah.
Yeah, as that. I mean, as the go-to, isn't it? Because everyone else is basically waiting with bated breath to be like,
God help whoever manages that account.
The abuse. Okay, yeah, I maybe have been too harsh. I'm happy to go with a C there because we have to use them.
We have to.
They are,
and it is clean. The way then you manage your team is quite clean and good, isn't it? Like, so
yeah, it's great. It's great.
Yeah,
you can pick a kit.
Let's move
on. Next up, livefpl.net.
Yeah.
Hit me up. What have you scored these guys?
I've given them an A, Josh, Live FPL, because they're the only other site that does other stuff to FPL Game Week in terms of showing you just loads of stats about your team and things like your safety score that you needed to get to maintain your rank, things like how far away you are from other ranks, different players that are causing damage to you in the same vein as FPL Game Week. And it lets you do things like download your mini league in a CSV for the week. So that's really useful for me when I'm administering as. It's pretty like clunky looking. It's not the most easy to navigate, but it is I think it's the most used site. So people love, everybody uses it, who, like all these content creators we're talking about, they love using it. And yeah, I think it's very good. Very, very good. What have you given it?
I've given them a B, and I think it's mainly because of my lack of familiarity of what the site can do.
Sure.
I know there's loads of stuff in there, but I just can't be bothered to troll through it.
It isn't. It isn't. It's not an appealing looking site, is it?
No, that kind of accessibility or lack thereof is why someone like me, the Neanderthal of the FPL kind of content followers or people who want to digest that content, it's just not as accessible or smooth as a lot of the other ones. So
no, it's not. Yeah.
But I will bow to your superior knowledge though and score an A, because as you said, there's a lot of stuff in there if people can be bothered to look at it. So
I think I'd recommend giving it another go, Josh. It is very good. It is very good. Things like the template rating of your team and stuff is cool.
That does sound cool. If only I knew where to find that, Jack.
If only you could find it. Exactly.
Yeah,
I think I've got a thing for like old looking websites for some reason. It's like a nostalgia thing. I don't know.
Got a weird hobby looking at it.
Strange.
All right. We're going back to podcasts next. So cool. FML, FPL.
Yeah, I confess I haven't listened to them for over a year. And And it was because they just didn't entertain me that much, I don't think. I found them a bit kind of grating. But people do love them. And they've been around for donkey's years. So they did help pioneer the kind of content creator FPL podcasting. So I've gone see. What have you done?
Also see, funny enough, I don't really listen to their podcast anymore. And I actually come across the majority of their kind of content via TikTok now, because they've got their own TikTok.
Oh, do they? Okay.
Which is kind of cool. I mean, I didn't find it particularly helpful, but just a bit entertaining. I remember the first time I listened to them, I was like, wow, these guys are super enthusiastic, like in your face. Like, this is not the kind of FPL content I'm used to. When you line up against like the kind of FPL general, like guys sat there serious. This is serious FPL, and they're just crazy. But yeah, I think that novelty's worn off.
I think I've only got enough bandwidth in my weekly schedule for one pair of American FPL podcasters, and I think Always Cheating just are better than them in every way.
Good way to put it. Yeah, we've only got enough space in our life for one American podcast. Lovely. C, good. That was nice and simple. And then next, WGTA. Jack, gonna have to defer to you.
This is Who Got the Assist podcast.
Of course. Oh my gosh,
you missed it. They're my second favorite podcast. Who Got the Assist? They're a bunch of British nerds who are so stats heavy. Like, if you're into your stats and you believe in like reading the data, sort of more than the eye test, then they're great. The guy Tom who runs it is really good. They're completely the opposite of commercialization. There's no ads. They've got loads of following, but he's just like, no, I'm not interested in any of that, which is great. He's just this dry British guy, and very nerdy and clever as well. And his friends that he gets on are great. And yeah, just really, really well done. Like, again, it's got that charming amateurish nature. Like, the guy doesn't want to buy a microphone or a fancy setup. He just chats into his laptop or his phone or whatever. But the actual content itself is better than any other podcast out there, I think, in terms of how useful it is for you playing FPL. Yeah. So it's an A from me, Josh.
Lovely. Yeah, now I actually know who they are, who got the assist. Yeah, I would agree with you. I mean, everyone knows who they are they're one of the big podcasts, aren't they, content creators?
Yeah.
But I'll defer to you because I haven't listened to them that much. You love stats, I would
Give
say.
them a listen. You love stats.
I do, but maybe not quite as much with you. I'm a tier down from you in terms of stat lovers.
You're an A, I'm an S.
Exactly. Yeah. Let's say that. But I would agree with you that it's an A because they are who they are. They're legends of the game, I guess.
They are legends of the game. They are.
Next, Jack, FPL Focal.
Yeah.
What have you given?
Another YouTuber. So he kind of catapulted into the frame because he was world number one for a while, and he kind of already had a Twitter account and stuff. And he was battling out for world number one despite already being kind of in the community. And so he started his YouTube channel, but kind of off the back of that. And even though that was a springboard, he's actually very good at YouTube, really likable, relaxed, chilled out guy. And what I do like about him is he doesn't just do the who should we captain this week, the usual trudgery of normal FPL content. He does more evergreen stuff. So he does like interesting things that have happened in the past, like what would happen if Messi in 2011 was in FPL, stuff like that, like quite quirky, cool videos, and quite unique. So I've given him a B.
B, very good. I mean, I haven't listened to a lot of FPL Focal, so I will have to defer to you again. It sounds like one for the FPL nerds out there, Jack.
Aren't we all?
Kind of, yeah, but you know what I mean.
All kids, yeah.
Like the people that want to know how Messi did and how Messi would have done it.
Yeah, it's quirky. It's quirky.
So some people are literally, they want to go for the who to captain this week.
They do, and that's fine. But there are millions of them.
I'll give you that.
So I think if you are like we made that decision and we do not do that, because what are we really adding to the conversation? Probably nothing.
Exactly.
Whereas this stuff, Josh, is solid gold, original.
Exactly.
Slagging off every other creator. No one's doing that.
Didn't expect that, did you guys?
Oh God.
All right, before we snag off anyone else, moving on to the next one, the FPL Raptor.
This guy's a prick. No, this guy's this guy's good. He wrote a book actually that he published called The Mind Game, about FPL, which I bought and read, and it was quite good. The crazy thing is, though, he only had played the game for one season, which seemed mental when I found that out. So I was a bit like, are you really an authority here on this game that you've played for 1 year and the rest of us have played for like 10 years? So he's a bit, I don't know, he's a really nice guy. He's got a YouTube channel that's quite good. But I don't think he really, apart from the book, which was all about like cognitive bias in FPL and stuff, which was quite interesting. Now his content's he's just like another Who's Captain Every Week YouTuber, really. So yeah, check him out if you fancy it. C.
Okay.
C.
That's where he ranks. He's a C. And then final one, Jack.
Final one.
FPL tips.
FPL tips. So this is the most followed YouTube. I don't know if Andy's overtaken him now, actually, but he was for a long time the most followed one. This guy's great because his YouTube videos are like 3 minutes long max. And it's just like right here. It's like TikTok. He should be on TikTok, really, because his videos are like that. They're just bite-sized, and they always have been. Like same music in the background. Who are the best 3 captains of the week? This is how my team did this week, and this is how it's looking next week. And it's content that other YouTubers would spend an hour talking about, distilled into like 3-minute clips, which is perfect, really. And that's all you really need. And he's very, very slick graphics, really good at presenting it. And yeah, I've given him a B, but maybe it should be an A, actually. Yeah, I'd go with an A for him, actually, Josh. I'll amend my grade because he's really good. And he's been doing it for donkey's years, which gives you more kudos, I think.
For the busy working FPL manager, FPL tips with the short videos.
Definitely, yeah, exactly. For the
working FPL manager,
professional manager with not a lot of time in their hands.
A, good, yeah, and that is the lot, Jack. That is the table looks beautiful.
Lovely, yeah, we've got a good mix there. Feel a bit bad about the ones we've maybe really slagged off, but I mean, it's just opinions, isn't it? We don't matter. We're nobodies.
No, exactly. And everyone, as you said, the entertaining ones, people will find it a bit different. And in terms of the getting value from the other ones, I think the S tiers, pretty much everyone will say they're the essentials. From there down, everyone else will have different opinions. But
they will, yeah. And let us know if you're offended. Let us know. If you have got a different opinion, let us know. If you completely agree, pat us on the back. Where would you put us? Let us know. Where would you put us, Josh?
Oh, that's harsh. We should back ourselves.
Is there a tier above S on the
Well,
grid?
they're gonna have to make one, basically, aren't they?
Yeah. No.
Yeah. Let us know what you round. Circles round to avoid.
Yeah. You go at the top, come at the bottom. Let us know what you would give us, and be brutal. I want to hear it.
Good. We'll cry ourselves to sleep at night. Just give us something. Give us something above C. I'll be happy.
Yeah.
But that's great. Yep. Hope you found it useful. And we'll check back in with our next video soon.
Yeah. Thanks for watching. See you later.
Cheers. Bye, Joe.
Bye.